Have you ever just had one of those weeks where it seems like the plan that you started out with is just not the plan that you ended up with? That has been my week this week. Let me start at the beginning. We started off the week on Sunday dropping our oldest boy off at camp, which was awesome because it's overnight camp and he loves overnight camp, and we were so blessed that his overnight camp was actually running this year. So it was really awesome that he was having this opportunity to do it. So that went really well. Dropping him off was so beautiful, just seeing camp counselors that he has seen in the past and just knowing that he was going to have a great week filled with fun. Then on Monday, two of our boys, our other boys, were going to mountain bike camp, which was not an overnight camp, but it was a day camp, and they love it. They went to it last year and they were really looking forward to going this year. So that was going really well. And it was supposed to be that myself and my youngest were home together for the week, and we were going to plan little excursions together, and it was just going to be all about him. So pretty much the week went crazy. Our oldest guy, who is at sleepaway camp, it went fine. Everything went fabulously. It was a fantastic week, and he had no knowledge of what was happening here at home, and sometimes ignorance is bliss, and so I think he had a blissful week. Come Wednesday morning, one of our boys woke up and he had a little bit of redness on his face, which was concerning. I had no idea what had caused it, but he seemed well and he was happy to go to camp, so we sent him. Picked him up, he went for a swim at his grandma's house, put some cream on his face, and went to bed, and when he woke up it was worse. So actually, and that night he couldn't sleep because it was so itchy and scratchy and painful, and so we spent a lot of the night awake just trying to ease the pain. Anyways, that morning we had a doctor's appointment, and we got some creams to put on for him, and we thought it would be fine. But we didn't send him to camp because he was still in quite a bit of pain, and at that point it seemed like an allergic reaction, and I had no idea what he had an allergic reaction to, so we just kept him home in case the allergen was still present at the camp. Went to sleep, woke up the next day, it was even worse, but you can see his nose was disappearing, his eyes were really swollen. He kept saying how it felt like they were closing in on him. It was really unpleasant for him. So we ended up taking him to the local hospital just to see. I wasn't quite sure what they would need to do to figure out what was causing the problem, so I just figured it's better to go to a facility where they kind of have everything and they can figure it all out. The doctor determined that it was exposure to poison ivy. He did have a fairly typical poison ivy rash on the back of his leg, and I guess somehow that affected his face as well. So he didn't end up going to camp the last day either, which was so sad because it was superhero day. They were getting hot dogs that day, and it was going to be a really fun day for them, and he missed out. So that was just one of the things. The next thing is also very sad, very difficult to talk about, but again, in the bit of a whirlwind of the week that it was, it felt like I had to just keep moving forward, and that I couldn't necessarily stop and just allow myself the time to think about it, because like I say, our third boy, he really needed attention, and we really needed to figure out what was going on. So anyways, Monday night I was exhausted because I had worked really hard to get the boys prepared for camp, and they were finally at camp, and I just felt like, okay, I can actually just relax. I ended up falling asleep with the boys. When we woke up, I realized that our kitty was not at the door like he normally is. I think maybe once or twice before had that happen where he wasn't there right at that time. So I assumed maybe he was just found something to chase or something exciting, so we kind of waited, and lunchtime came, and I was starting to feel really sad and nervous, and we still didn't see him. Fast forward to today, which is Sunday, and I have not seen or heard anything of his whereabouts. And at this point, my heart is just aching because this cat is basically like a fifth son. He thinks that he's a child. He thinks that he's one of the boys, he's just been the sweetest, most amazing addition to our family that we could have ever asked for. So that's really painful for the heart. The most friendly cat. I mean, our littles and everyone would carry him around, and he would just, I mean, whatever, he would just go, okay, someone's dragging me, around under their arm, and that's fine. He was always gentle, always so sweet and kind and loving, and would lick us. And I was just telling my husband that a couple weeks ago I had gone out, and when I came home, he had slept in, two of our boys share a room, so he had slept on the one boy's bed and then crawled over with the other boy. And when I got home and went in and found him on there, it was almost like he got off like, oh, okay, you're home now, I'm fine, I can go and play. And he kind of got down and started doing his own thing. So he really loves our boys. And neighbors would giggle and laugh and say, oh my goodness, your kitty thinks he's a dog, which he did at times. And he wasn't afraid of dogs. If he was walking with us and encountered a dog, he would go right towards the dog, almost as in like a protective stance, like, these are my people, don't hurt them. So very loyal, very sweet, very loving, and it's a huge loss for our family. Like, he's not on my bed when I go to sleep, and he's not, laying beside my legs, and he would love to curl up with my husband when he's sitting on his chair. And I go down to my basement, and that's where it is the worst for me, because that's where I would sew, and he would curl up beside me in the chair, or sit on the sewing that I was doing. And it was just so comforting to know he was there and have his presence there. And if I was hand sewing, I remember hand sewing, and he would try and chase the string, and I'd have to constantly, find a spot for him and say, okay, this is your spot, I'm trying to sew, and I didn't want to poke him. So anyways, that's probably the worst place for me. And I can still see his fur, like on some of the chairs where he would frequently sleep, especially during the days that were hot and he had been out, for most of the night. My heart is really heavy. We tried so hard to keep him inside, but in his soul, he was an outdoor cat. It literally was who he was, and that's where he was most happy and enjoying life, was outside. So we sit and we wait. I think one of the hardest moments was when our oldest came home, and I didn't want anybody to say anything about the cat to him, because I just didn't want it to squish the high that he would be on after being away all week. But the first thing he did when he came through the door was start walking around and looking for the cat, and I could tell what he was doing, and my husband could tell what he was doing, and we just looked at each other and we knew we had to tell him. So we told him, and his response made my heart happy. He said, oh, okay, that's okay, he's an outdoor cat, he'll be fine, he'll come home. And so that made me really happy. And then this morning when he woke up, he was a little less sure that maybe he would show up, and that kind of wrecked me for a bit. And this whole thing has just made me think of, even just with kids, we can keep them safe by keeping them in our home and not allowing them to be who they are, or we can let them take risks and go outside of our doors and allow them to just be who they are. And that does come with risks, and it destroys me sometimes to think about the risks, but I have to trust that, God will take care of them, and that he loves them more than I do, and that he has the best for them. And then the hardest part of all of that is that there's this Bible verse I think it's from Daniel, and it said, if not, he is still good. And I have to believe that that is true. So even if my kitty does not come home, God is still good, and he's still sovereign. So to end this on a happier note, and I will keep you posted about the kitty situation, but to end on a happier note, one of the beautiful things since COVID started, we haven't been able to really do this, and it was something that my sister had really wanted to do for a long time. I have two sisters, and they actually share a birthday. They're not twins. They're born on the same day, a couple years apart. So it was their birthday yesterday, and so we were able to go to my sister's house in the city and spend the afternoon and evening playing at her house. And the highlight for some of my children was the dirt bike, which I will show a video of. But we ate delicious, amazing food. We had great conversations and laughs, and it was just a really awesome afternoon, and a great way to just kind of celebrate life again. And we all just said how much of a wonderful time we had and how much we enjoyed it. And so that was the way to end the week. So this week has had just a little bit of everything, and I don't know if you have weeks like that. It's been a week, and then I think tomorrow, we might just rest. Because I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like I'm struggling a little bit to keep up with life since life has somewhat opened back up a little bit. I'm just finding it's like, ooh, okay, I'm trying to grab and squeeze every ounce of life I can out of each day. But I definitely think it's okay to have some down days, some resting days as well. So thank you for sharing our week with us, and I hope that it can be a blessing to you to just hear that maybe you're not alone, and that we all have weeks that can just be up and down and crazy and sideways and all over the place. And I think that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good or bad. It just means that that's life. And I mean, I guess on the one hand, at least we're living life right now, and we have that blessing to be able to do that. So I hope that you're blessed by this video, and thank you for letting me share, and thank you for sharing our journey. Talk to you soon.